Hello friends, Craig from Arms and Armor here today, and we're going to talk a little bit about one of our favorite type of swords here at Arms and Armor, and that's a distinct group that are often referred to as Irish swords, Gaelic Irish to be in particular. They are the ones that have a S-shaped guard, usually flared ends on the guard, oftentimes a ring pommel, as opposed to even a wheel, but just a simple ring, and you can see the tang traveling through the center of that, peened at the top. This particular piece is done kind of as a study or a sketch almost, working on some piece of information that I gathered when I was in Dublin and saw some originals, and trying to work out some of the forging techniques and how they would be able to produce these hilts in country, as it were. The blades are probably on the originals going to be imports, probably from Germany. They are usually quite light for this style of sword. This in particular, this one, I was kind of basing it on a couple of the originals, but it's actually a little big even now as it sits. This weighs about 1.5 pounds, a little over 1.6 pounds. Overall length is about 36.8, and the blade length is about 30.9, or just under 31 inches. So it's not a big sword at all, but it's actually bigger than the originals I was kind of looking at. It's got a little ricasso with some detail on it that has a incised lines and a small little loop or curve here before it runs to the step down onto the diamond section blade. The guard is forged by hand, and the pommel are forged by hand and done so that it's a ring that's welded together and then pierced to get the tang hole through. Same with the guard, pierced with a chisel. It is done like the original, where the blade sits flat to the surface of the guard itself, and it has the flared ends and the slightly S shape on the guard where these curl. Sometimes they're very tight curls, sometimes a little looser. But I just wanted to explore this kind of a sword in that kind of weight range and size so that I could see some of the aspects of how it was used. The result is, with the thickness I've got on here, which might be a little on the heavy side, it's gonna make a great thrusting sword, but the cog comes down almost 8 inches or so. So it's quite a bit ways down the blade, but at 1.5 pounds, it moves very effectively. It's got a nice range, and you can see that what I refer to as the active rotational point of a sword, the point that it wants to rotate around itself in action when it's in your grip out in front of you, is quite a bit ways down the blade, and that allows you to keep that fight out in front of you quite effectively. It makes the sword a little more difficult to move out of the way if your opponent is catching it and manipulating it with their weapon, things like that. So it's an interesting look. These swords are probably 16th century. We can kind of date them from the Dur illustration of the warriors and the peasants and a few others, but it looks like it's that first half of the 16th century. And this one has a kind of a dark brown reddish glued leather grip on there. Gives you a nice solid, you can get your hand right around it, makes a very sturdy sword in the hand. Just the kind of thing that a mercenary or a cattle raider would be very interested in having in their retinue of weapons to use. So this is kind of an interesting little piece. I just wanted to share that with you guys and show you what it was. This one is sold and going off to a customer right away. But we are interested in these kinds of swords because they're kind of unique. You don't see them too often in reproductions and stuff, other than the ring pommel being tossed around on a lot of things. And it does illustrate one of those aspects of the modern maker's kind of bias towards bigger and making things that are kind of oversized or overbuilt. Like I said, the original, one of the couples that I was looking at when I was making this and using some of the aspects of it, this dimension here for me is like 1.3 inches, right? We're just over 1.33 inches there, kind of. The original is barely over 1 inch. So it really is a light, unique kind of style of sword that would have been very interesting to use and manipulate in a martial kind of way, seeing how effective that is against maybe heavier weapons. But interesting piece, thought you guys might enjoy seeing it. Wanted to share that with you before I sent it off to its new home. And I hope you guys are having a great day. We'll talk to you soon.